Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Pequannock Township High School's Neva Fenner National Honor Society Class of 2020 induction ceremony. Tonight is a truly special night as we honor the leadership, service, scholarship, and character of our wonderful Pequannock Township High School students. At this time, I would like to welcome the President of the National Honor Society, Miss Samantha Nafee.
Members of the Board of Education, Mr. Portis, Dr. Winning, Mr. Hazler, Mrs. Marshall, Mr. Brady, PTHS administration, members of the faculty, parents, and students. Welcome to the 2020 National Honor Society induction ceremony. At this time, will everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Now please join me in welcoming Superintendent of Schools, Mr. Portis.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Michael Portis. I'm the Superintendent of Schools for the Pequannock Township School District, and I'm honored to be able to speak tonight as part of the National Honor Society induction ceremony. Reputations are forged through sustained patterns of behavior. Yes, a reputation can crumble with a single incident, but it takes time and consistent actions and mindset to construct a positive reputation. Tonight, we celebrate that you have demonstrated through your achievements and contributions something beyond simple repute, but more notably what can be distilled down to a single powerful word: honor. Honor is what got all of you into your seats for this event and should continue to define you. Beyond honor, we are celebrating excellence, a word that is bandied about without much careful consideration of what it truly means, but a word that carries incredible weight. Your education is the result of your schooling, which is the part we take care of in this building, in partnership with the support of your parents and guardians, siblings, administrators, friends, teachers, and the greater community. You are truly part of an excellent society. We are here because you have demonstrated excellence both in your pursuit of meaningful education and in your community involvement. You are now united as a society, a collection of like-minded scholars with one of the most powerful words attached to you. What does it really mean? Honor. How would you define honor to a child? It's not easy, is it? More important than defining that word is the fact that you have embodied it. That is your reputation. We celebrate you and your well-earned reputations in this induction ceremony, and I encourage you to continue to build on your honor and excellence as well as your reputation in all your future endeavors. Best of luck and have a great night.
Thank you. We are gathered here to formally recognize and officially induct our newest members. I know personally that this accomplishment was not without hard work, discipline, and dedication to your academic studies as well as to your community. Each of you will soon become a part of the nation's oldest, largest, and most prestigious student recognition program and join a chapter of some of Pequannock's best student leaders. Though now is the time for congratulations, it is also important to remember the high standards of excellence each of you must maintain as a National Honor Society scholar. In addition to the impressive academic achievements of the chapter, our members are leaders in countless athletics, clubs, and activities in our town and volunteer as tutors throughout our school district. You have worked long and hard to reach this point. A rigorous academic schedule combined with extracurriculars, sports, and countless other responsibilities is no easy feat. Please, I ask you, take this evening to reflect on the great success that this honor represents and understand that you have the talents, work ethic, and capabilities to achieve any goal. Move forward into the future feeling confident, proud, and eager to take on any challenge that you may encounter. It is truly my privilege to be the president of this chapter, and I am overjoyed to be recognizing all of these new inductees this evening. It is at this time that we proclaim to all in attendance that membership in the Neva Fenner chapter of the National Honor Society has been earned by these candidates through the effective demonstration of the 4 qualities that serve as standards for the society. Current members of the chapter will now review these qualities for the candidates. When we all think of the term scholarship, I am pretty sure that money is what most quickly comes to each of our minds. However, scholarship as a member of the National Honor Society holds much more value than money off of college tuition. Scholarship is the dignity every student on the stage, or maybe not stage, but video chat, holds when completing any task that is asked of them, or maybe not even asked of them, yet that has been done anyways. It's dotting I's and crossing T's with meticulous intent to do the very best that you can, and nothing less than that. Holding yourself to high academic standards and seeking to everything that is within reach demonstrates the true prowess and discipline of each and every one of us. Yes, you are one of us now, proud members of an academic community that maintains a certain poise of sophistication that only few may attain. It's not just the immaculate note-taking and sparkling GPAs that get you here. It is the willpower and hard-working attitudes that are engraved within the minds and hearts of all of you. And I can only hope that you can hold fast to your goals in life and continue to dream.
The second pillar of the National Honor Society is service. Service is when you spend your time helping others. It is when you come to the realization that sacrificing your time and effort is what will bring positivity and change to your community. Throughout your high school years, accumulating community service hours may only seem like a necessity to graduate. But you have to ask yourself if that's truly the reason you should be doing community service. You have to ask yourself if you are doing it for the right reasons. In the wise words of Howard Zinn, small acts, when multiplied by millions of people, can transform the world. As you continue your journey forward, remember that you never have to wait to be the start of a worldwide change, because in the future, you will want to look back and know that all the hours you spent and projects you completed helping others truly made a difference and were definitely worthwhile.
The third pillar of the National Honor Society is leadership. Leadership is defined as a process by which a person influences others to accomplish an objective and directs the organization in a way that makes it more coherent and cohesive. Leaders should always provide a good influence for those around them. They take initiative in and out of the classroom, always striving for success among themselves and success among others. This group of inductees is filled with some of the greatest leaders within our school and our community, and they will continue to branch off to become leaders of so much more. The world will always need people to set good examples, and it is important that our members have an understanding of what it means to be a well-rounded leader of others. Remember, leadership is not about being elected to a position in which you have authority over others. This is not what makes somebody fit the true definition of a leader. Leadership is an attitude cultivated over time, and each and every one of you have successfully acquired this attitude.
What comprises us as people and gives us each individuality all relates to what we know as character. In the words of American inventor John Hayes Hammond, character is the real foundation of all worthwhile success. The decisions we choose to make and the conclusions we arrive at in our actions ultimately reflect upon our character. The choice to work hard in all classes, extracurriculars, sports, and other activities inside and outside of school has put you all in this honorable position. To be part of this organization means you have exceeded any and all expectations. You have put a great deal of time and effort into your education and furthermore passion. I understand school may not appear to be the most suitable place to facilitate your hopes and dreams, but it is all part of the process to eventually achieve your goals and make your mark on the world. Each and every one of the inductees we are proud to have this year have in one way or another exhibited strength, pride, and integrity. Whether the spotlight is on our society members or not, we strive to make the right decisions for not just ourselves, but around us. We expect and are confident that the future of NHS expresses their character, and they encourage the next group of young, bright individuals to do the same. Being the fourth pillar of the National Honor Society, we endorse this quality just as much as our other pillars, and we hope for you all to take these elements with you as lessons, not just for your educational career, but throughout your lifetime.
It is now my pleasure to introduce our guest speaker for the night, Mr. Brady.
Hello, National Honor Society inductees, and congratulations. It is with tremendous pride that I'm able to speak with you directly, albeit in a manner that we're slowly trying to get accustomed to. Now, before I begin, I want to thank Mr. Hazler and Mrs. Marshall, all of the faculty and staff members, Mr. Portis, district administrators, the current National Honor Society members and its executive board, parents, family, and loved ones, and all those who have had a hand in putting this event together. I would like to additionally thank the National Honor Society Executive Board members Samantha Nafee, Cal Gilliam, Nicole Jones, and Holly Padco for inviting me to be this year's induction ceremony guest speaker. From the outset, I was torn on how to approach this opportunity, and the way I see it, there was two opposing choices. Approach number one would be to take a very traditional route, maybe speak about the concepts of success or dedication, and have a myopic focus on an incredibly positive ideal. But that seems incredibly tone deaf given the condition of our world at the moment. To completely ignore what many of us are suffering through and how many parts of our lives have been uprooted. Approach number two, then, would be to acknowledge what we are all going through, but then take an overly cheery tone and encourage everyone to remember that, well, I know it's hard now, but we'll get through this. Or, I know this is difficult, but we will return to normal. And I'm sure many of you might hear me say that and wonder, how could I be so callous and find such statements to be unhelpful during a time like this? And I'll tell you how. As well-meaning as those words of encouragement are, and I do believe them to be rooted in good intentions, sometimes when we don't allow ourselves to acknowledge that we are hurting or suffering, we miss out on a great opportunity for growth and change. An opportunity that will be more beneficial to our lives than the short-term nature of a comment that, in effect, discounts how we might truly feel. Which leads me to precisely impart on you the following. It's okay not to be okay. It's okay not to be okay. Perhaps this is a good time that maybe I actually introduce myself. For those who have not had the pleasure of meeting or teaching, I'm Mr. Brady, and I've taught business education here at Pequannock Township High School for 13 years. And during that time, I found myself in a trusted position on countless occasions where students have approached me and asked for my thoughts or advice while they were trying to manage rough situations in their own lives. Their stories are tough, and their issues stem from a broad range. And I would only give advice had they asked. I ensured them that at the very minimum, I would listen unconditionally. I would not give them false hope. I would not give them perfunctory, cheery outlooks. But what I would do with a student who trusted me with their hardships would be to tell them that what you're feeling is real. What you're feeling is valid. And as much as it hurts to exist in the emotional discomfort you're in, to do anything other than that would be to be disingenuous to yourself. And that the only advice that would be helpful would only be helpful if you honor and acknowledge that your heart is currently hurting, and that's okay. It's okay not to be okay. I say this coming from a position of deep personal experience. About 3 years ago, a series of events that were predominantly out of my control conspired to transform my world in an abrupt and contradictory manner, and I felt like the emotional floor had just dropped out from underneath me. I was beyond saddened. I was morose. There was no way for me to make sense of what my world had become. And although the people who I love and care about the most would do their best to console me, their words and sentiments never really had that intended effect. In fact, the opposite would sometimes be true. I would experience more emotional tension after our talks. The only time someone's words truly moved me towards a positive emotional state would be when they acknowledged how horrible my scenario was and commended me on having the fortitude to keep going. And if you really think about it, that sounds pretty bonkers. How socially unacceptable it would be to go up to somebody who's suffering and say something like, well, yeah, I guess that does suck. But that actually helped me. It made me feel comfortable to know that what I was feeling deep down was real, it was valid, it was natural. It's natural to feel that level of sadness when your world is completely disrupted for the worse. It's okay not to be okay. Now, here's where I think the real life advice becomes significant. Once you acknowledge that you're hurting and it's acceptable to be in pain, what do you do next? Well, at that part, it's on you. Allow yourself the space to find that which is indestructible within you. Sometimes when things fall apart, that is the opportunity for great change. That was a quote that I shared with our students during a period where many teachers shared words of encouragement. Now, in order to give credit where credit is due, I must talk about Pema Chodron. My words were inspired by a quote she once shared in one of her books, a book that helped me process what I was experiencing and helped me heal during the darkest period of my life. This book, When Things Fall Apart, became my map, and Pema Chodron was my guide. For context, Pema was born in New York City and found her life turned upside down. She began a spiritual journey that led her to become a Buddhist nun and teacher at the Gampo Abbey in Nova Scotia, Canada. And she found herself, no matter where she was in the world, teaching and speaking on subjects that seemed to center around Maitri, which is the practice of loving kindness. And perhaps maybe I've buried the lead a little too deep into this speech with so much talk of emotional distress and living in somber times, or allowing yourself to wallow in sadness, as it might seem. But the lesson is about finding a way to connect with yourself from a place of loving kindness during the times in your life when perhaps you need it the most. Pema and many who practice Buddhism see the world from a viewpoint of impermanence, or as many of us know it, nothing lasts forever. And I could speak about that concept for a while, but suffice to say, impermanence has been shown to all of us as a global community very quickly. We've had to leave our classrooms and workplaces. We've abandoned many of our hobbies and activities. We've had to remove ourselves from family and friends and loved ones. We've struggled with the uncertainty of how long is this all going to last, and we might not even still be close to having an answer to that. And during this time, I know that many of our students, especially our most standout students, might feel as though they got a raw deal. I can hear it when I talk with juniors and seniors in my daily Google Meets. It's evident when I read their responses to regular check-ins. I've even seen a tremendous amount of high achievers withdraw academically to a radical degree. And that should not come across as a coincidence. Our young people are hurting and have rarely needed to address something this literally earth-shattering in their entire lives. Chodron said in her book that she had a sign in her office that once read, "Only to the extent that we expose ourselves over and over to annihilation can that which is indestructible be found in us." Now, when I shared that with my students, I softened it up around the edges, but I found that in my own life, it was still true. Pema goes on to say, when the bottom falls out and we can't find anything to grasp, it hurts a lot. And this is where tenderness comes in. We can shut down and feel resentful, or we can touch in on a tender quality within. And there is definitely something tender about a state of groundlessness. It's a kind of testing. It's a test that the resilient need in order to awaken their hearts. Sometimes it's because of illness or death that we find ourselves in this place. We experience a sense of loss. Loss of a loved one, loss of our youth, loss of our job, loss of a relationship, loss of our concept of a life. Things falling apart is a kind of test, but more importantly, it's a kind of healing. And we think that the point of any difficulty is to just overcome the problem, and the truth is that things don't really get solved that way over the long term. Things come together and then they fall apart. Then they come together again and then they fall apart again. The healing, Chodron says, comes from letting there be room for all of it to happen. Leave room for grief, leave room for misery, because by doing so, you then make room for relief. You make room for joy, and it's very cyclical in nature, but you can't skip the uncomfortable steps. When we think that something is going to bring us pleasure, we don't know what's really going to happen. When we think that something's going to give us misery, again, we don't know for sure. Letting there be room for not knowing is the most important thing you can do. When there's big disappointment, we don't know if that's the end of a story. For all you know, it could be the beginning of a great adventure. And this is precisely the situation I found myself in. Although I was hurting so deeply over a great loss in my life, I allowed myself the space not to fight it, but to feel it. I permitted myself the ability to be sad, as painful as it was, in the hopes that I would work to grow from that place, and wouldn't you know, I did. I made changes to my life that I would not have been inspired to make before. I stepped way outside of my comfort zone more so than I ever had. I was shedding a version of myself that no longer served me. I had definitive proof that I was indestructible, even in the face of emotional and spiritual annihilation. Now, was it easy? Of course it wasn't easy. Nothing worth having in life or being as a person comes easy. But you have to trust yourself that the only moment that matters is right now, not the past, which you can't change, and not the future, which is uncertain anyway. Now, to continue, not only had I emerged on the other side of that difficult part in my life as a better person for me, I emerged as a better person for the people around me. My students especially. It's no coincidence that my time and that my level of connection and rapport with my students had grown exponentially. My family connections were stronger than ever, and I challenge you, all of you listening, to go through the same process. Not just for you, but for the people around you. If you were present for my National Honor Society speech a few years ago, I touched on this very point, that improving yourself and seeking success for nobody else but you is the goal. And then you'll notice that you also happen to improve the lives of everyone around you as a result. Right now, in the middle of feeling emotionally unsteady, this is the time to plant a seed, one of taking care of those who need us the most, and of discovering the goodness that lies within us. We can use these situations to do one of two things. We can either wake ourselves up, or we can put ourselves to sleep. And I challenge all of you right now who are hurting and suffering and feeling the pain of what was taken away from you, I challenge you to do the former. I challenge you to wake up. Not by tricking yourself into thinking that things will surely get better, we don't know that. But by giving yourself the space to live in this very moment, certain of nothing else but uncertainty. Let that wake you up and find a version of you that you might not have known existed. Find the strength to let go of the parts of you that are dependent or clingy or just not serving you. When things fall apart and we're on the verge of we know not what, Chodron writes, the test for each of us is to stay on the brink and not freeze. Life is a good teacher and also a good friend. Things are always going to be in transition. As Bruce Lee once said, be like water. Nothing ever sums itself up in the way we want to dream about. The off-center and in-between state is the ideal, a situation in which we won't get caught and we can open our hearts and minds. To stay with that shakiness, be it a broken heart, a rumbling stomach, the feeling of hopelessness and want, that's the path of true growth and healing. Sticking with that uncertainty and getting the knack of relaxing in the midst of chaos, learning not to panic, that is the path. A path that leads to better ourselves and in turn makes us better for the ones that we love. Use this time in your life to start developing the knack of catching yourself gently and with compassion. Use this time not to go to sleep, but to awaken something within you that you might not know was there and that you will soon come to find out you needed desperately. Take the time and space to develop this within yourself, and it might allow you to harden, but not in the way that most do, not with resentment, not with bitterness, not with righteous indignation, but to harden yourself in a wholesome way, into relief, into inspiration, into growth. Your first step towards doing that, though, is internalizing the following. It's okay not to be okay. Thank you all, and congratulations to our inductees.
Thank you, Mr. Brady. At this time, will the new inductees please rise as we light our candles and prepare to recite the pledge. Now join me in reciting the National Honor Society pledge. I pledge to uphold the high purposes of the National Honor Society to which I have been selected. I will be true to the principles for which it stands. I will be loyal to my school and will maintain and encourage high standards of scholarship, service, leadership, and character. Thank you. Please blow out your candle and have a seat. We now welcome our new members. Gianna Saletti, Alexandra Charinson, Isabella Cerisi, Jessica Deemer, Caitlin Deemer, Molly Dolan, Nicholas Dudzik, Emma Durr, Francesca Digos,
Jordan Fuchs, Carolina Garcia, Thomas Goodwin, Zachary Heskey, Bryn Kelly, Sarah Luttenberger, Samantha Mahoney, Paige McCoy, Cynthia McMahon,
Sandra Meyer, Rain Osmansky, Simone Rodriguez, Sydney Rosario, Daniel Rothman, Catherine Schaffner, Lauren Sinsky, Alexandra Sealski, Tegan Smith,
Brooke Struble, Jocelyn Struble, Olivia Strumolo, Anna Sumner, Emily Sumner, Nina Sidoric, Margaret Trost, Michelle Veneria, Rebecca Sainer.
And now, please welcome our principal, Mr. Hazler, who will offer closing remarks to the new members.
Good evening, Mr. Portis, Dr. Winning, Board of Education members, Mrs. Milner, Mr. Silipina, PTHS faculty and staff, parents, friends, community members, and most importantly, the Pequannock Township High School National Honor Society induction class of 2020. It is an honor and privilege to stand here tonight as the proud principal of Pequannock Township High School. First, let me thank our senior executive officers for doing an outstanding job as part of this virtual ceremony. There is no doubt that times have changed. We are currently living in a reality that is uncertain, preparing for our future that seems out of our reach, dreaming of a time when things can go back to normal. Tonight, we celebrate the new inductees of the National Honor Society and recognize its current members. I am here to tell you that your days of going back to normal is not where you want to be. One of my favorite spots to go each year is the Jersey Shore. I've been going there my entire life, playing with my friends and family when I was little, games of beach volleyball, searching for seashells, reading books, and body surfing are just some of the memories that play in my mind on my trips to the beach. However, what I find myself doing as I get older is looking out on the horizon. You see, the horizon is an interesting place. It's that fine line where the sky meets the ocean, a place where the sun rises signifying a new day, new opportunities, and new chances. It's also a line of mystery. What lies beyond that horizon? The horizon is a place of uncertainty. It seems impossibly out of reach. seems so far beyond just sticking your toes in the sand. The horizon, though, is also a place of wonder. It's a place of promise, a place where dreams lie waiting to come true, and where those who long for greatness look to with purpose, with passion, and a myopic focus. In his book, Simple Reminders, Inspiration for Living Your Best Life, best-selling author and social entrepreneur Brian McGill says, just beyond the horizon of the so-called impossible is infinite possibility. Tonight, all of our members of the Neva Fenner chapter of the National Honor Society have a horizon in front of them that is full of possibility. You are charting a course guided by your compass of scholarship, service, leadership, and character. No matter what path you choose to take, the tremendous effort and sacrifice that brought you to this moment tonight has prepared you for what is possible. Collectively, this group of outstanding young men and women have demonstrated remarkable success in the classroom. Your desire to make the most of the educational opportunities provided to you, seek out your learning, not only in school, but also personally, sets the standard for those that come after you. Never stop learning. Never stop growing. Your service to others, your school, and the community is needed now more than ever. Your willingness to give back, to raise awareness, and to stand for a cause is not just a noble act, it's a critical one. As members of the National Honor Society, you now have a responsibility to be a beacon of light whenever it is necessary. You see, service is not an hourly requirement, it's a lifetime commitment. All of you inducted tonight have demonstrated exemplary leadership, whether it is in the classroom, on the athletic field, in your organizations, your religious establishments, or in the community. You have inspired and motivated others. As the world looks to the horizon, your leadership will be necessary to guide those who are in search of direction, who need a purpose, who need to see what is possible because their own compass does not help them find the way. Your perseverance, honesty, integrity, sacrifice, trustworthiness, confidence, and optimism are all attributes that will continue to show you the way as you navigate the next phase of your life's journey. The quote, "A true person's character is revealed when nobody is watching," reminds me of the importance of the role that each one of you now plays in the success of not just this high school, but in our larger community. It is also the personal commitment to ethical and compassionate decision-making that affects oneself and others. Your character is the real foundation of your success. We are all counting on you to be part of the beautiful sunrise on that horizon. You see, going back to normal is no longer an option. You are prepared for so much more than that. A Norwegian proverb says, "Do not look to the ground for your first step. Greatness lies with those who look to the horizon." If you make the horizon your goal, then your goals will always be in front of you. You have all the tools you need to find your horizon. As a new day begins for this chapter of the Pequannock Township High School's National Honor Society, the sun will rise. There's something beautiful out there on the horizon. So grab your compass. And the words of Captain Jack Sparrow in Pirates of the Caribbean, bring me that horizon. Congratulations to the newest members of the National Honor Society class of 2020.
At this time, I would like to thank you all for attending our National Honor Society induction ceremony. Please join me in applauding all of our new Honor Society members. And thank you all for sharing this special occasion with us.
Glory, honor, love, we give thee, guardian of our precious days. sing.